You are Locked On Falcons Postcast, part of Locked On Atlanta on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Falcons Postcast, your home for the best Falcons talk. It's local insight you can't get anywhere else but right here at Locked On. I'm your host, Tenitra Batiste. Alongside me are Jarvis Davis and Aaron Freeman. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. This Locked On Falcons Postcast is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Well, feel like the Falcons defense was on one again today, guys, as they escaped the tri-state with a 13-8 win for the Falcons over the Jets. Of course, we're going to deep dive into the deets of this game and how the Falcons were finally able to string together back-to-back wins for the first time in almost 4 months and talk about what's next for the Falcons. But first, let's talk JD and Free's takeaways on the Falcons loss. Jarvis, you said good to see the Falcons defense take advantage of a really bad offense.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Like even in the 3-game losing streak, you got it. Quarterbacks making their first start and Kyler Murray, then Will Levis. And you're like, okay, the Falcons defense should be able to take advantage of that because they have been playing so well. And then that wasn't the case. We're going to find out. So, and then you had the defense went 0 for 5 against the Saints, you know, as far as allowing them to score a touchdown in the red zone. So, and then today you see them take advantage of a really bad offense with Tim Boyle and Trevor Siemian. They were playing so well that they got the quarterback benched. So, yeah, those are some of the things that we just aren't used to seeing because, like, you know, you don't know what to expect with this team. And I think that we're starting to expect this defense to play really well, and that is nothing but a good thing as the Falcons go down the stretch and try to get this division.
Yeah. And, Aaron, you talked about what you saw on offense. And it was one of those kinds of weird days where the offense was kind of just good enough to win and just not so bad to win.
Yeah. This game, Jarvis talked about expectations with the defense. This game kind of went how I thought it would go with the offense. It would be sort of an ugly, low-scoring affair. And all the Falcons needed to do was not turn the ball over. They tried their darnest to do it a couple of times, but fortunately, you know, they were able to recover that fumble on the opening snap. The interception that Ritter threw to Kyle Pitts was wiped out by a turnover. So it was, you know, it was close, but like just the Falcons just needed to not shoot themselves in the foot, not give this Jets offense opportunities that they didn't deserve, that their defense wasn't able to sort of take away, and just do just enough. And they did that. They got the touchdown to Michael Pruitt off of the fumble earlier on the short field. And they didn't have a ton of success moving the ball. But as long as they just kind of just played the field position game, and like given how the Jets offense has been even worse, like you just knew like, okay, we can just play a conservative game plan and that should be enough to win this game. And that's basically what sort of came to fruition.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because literally, Free, it's like they edged the Jets out in just about every category. And when I say edge, I do mean edge. First downs, Falcons 15, Jets 14. Like literally, total plays, Falcons 64, Jets 67, about even. Time of possession, Falcons 29.5 minutes, Jets 30.5 minutes. I mean, it literally was one of those games where we're going to play this as even Steve can get it. And then 1 or 2, or in this case, probably 3 defensive takeaways. You probably needed all 3 just to get out of there, Jarvis, with the 13-8 win.
Yeah, and it's interesting, like, because Aaron and I were kind of talking about this before the show got started. It was just like, this is kind of weird, like a weird, boring type game. I'm just like, all right, let's get a turnover or something. Yeah. Let's get an interception. And like, oh, Jessie Bates, like, all right, I got you, Jarvis, no worries. You know, I get this interception, and then you got, you know, Richie Grant, you know, forcing a fumble in there in the fourth quarter. So those are some of the things where you just kind of look at it and it's just, wow, all right, this is going to be one of those types of games, and you can appreciate them being able to go up there on the road and get that win because, like whatever the Falcons give you and it ends up in a W, you got to pretty much accept it because that's just what it is at this point.
But
Is that a
I
compliment?
think, yeah, I was gonna say, Jarvis, I think it was a backhanded compliment. I'm not quite sure. It was giving pseudo compliment in my spirit. So I
Yeah,
kind
I
of
mean,
felt
yeah,
like you were trying.
that's what my heart was. Sometimes it just don't come out right. My heart was being complimentary. Well, here's a real compliment.
Okay.
Let me say this. This is a compliment. Arnie Abicati, the
No,
man
you
has been
not talking
playing.
about AK. No fair. That's my happy place for you. He knows that's my happy place.
I've been calling for the man to play more. So, like I gotta go ahead and, beat my chest a little bit because Aaron, when Jessie Bates started doing this thing, you can't get this man to shut up about it. He don't call the man Jordan. The man named Jordan. You called him Jordan. Like, so yeah, when AK started, showing up, getting a little bit more PT, hey
Right.
man, the man started getting a little production. So yeah, we gotta give a shout out to AK, man. He been doing his thing. I appreciate
You
that.
definitely do. And that was one of those third down sacks that was absolutely necessary because I mean it felt like I don't want to say that we got afraid because it's the Jets after all. So I don't think there was really a fear that kind of came in you, but on the same token, it was like, okay, this feels like
It's
third down and
Falcondom that came in me. Like,
yes, you
whoa,
know what? There it
pause.
is, Jarvis. Yeah. Yeah, that is. You saw that you felt that. You felt that, right? Because you're right. It's so different. It's so different. It's not like just that's when you know, Free, that we've been some triggered folks having to cover this team for years, man. You get triggered. You get triggered. So, like, you're right. It wasn't like a fear. Okay, wait, Jarvis, you just coined the
Won't
term.
use it.
Say it
Yeah.
one more time.
Falcondom.
Yeah, Falcons and like
Falcondom.
rose up in him, and it was the wrong side of rise up, by the way, that happened in that on that play. So you literally were like, when you kind of saw AK coming around the edge, you were like, yes, whew, yes, because it really felt like just for a moment that it was that opportunity or that situation rather where the Falcons were going to Falcon, and you just didn't want to have that conversation. You're like, no, not when you're coming off of a bye week and you did what you did to the Saints on defense, and then you're offense found ways here and there to be able to capitalize, you didn't want to have that conversation. So I think it is something that you mentioned, Jarvis, a few minutes ago, which is that in those instances where your offense is sputtering, you do know, like, okay, come on, give me something, give me a spark, do something. And then somebody somehow, some way does it. As you said, Jessie Bates III does it once again by taking the ball away. And then Arnold Ebiketie makes sure that on that third down, once again, he gets himself a third down sack that pretty much seals this game for the Falcons. So I think that maybe you won't have a Falcondom type of moment if you just recognize that this is kind of the way this team is going to operate as they continue on through the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty cool to watch, like how this team kind of, continue to evolve. Because it's going to have to evolve more on the offensive side of football. But sticking with the defense, I think I think Ryan Nielsen is in a nice little groove. Because they had their moments this year where Grady Jarrett went out, Onyemata was out for that game, and then it didn't look too good. But now that Onyemata is back and the man is causing some havoc still.
Yeah.
I really I appreciate him as well. That's another compliment. See,
yes, there you
go. But there is something good. This defense is something to get excited about as we go down the stretch.
Yeah, and you hope that the little dust up that Onyemata had today isn't going to be anything that kind of lingers this week or through the remainder of the season, because certainly with Grady out of the game, you definitely feel his impact that much more. You need him on that front line. You need him in the trenches as the Falcons look to really continue what we're starting to see, especially after the Saints lost today. You're really starting to see them kind of, dare I say it, pull away a little bit from this NFC South with gutsy, gutting it out type wins. I know, dare I say it? I said it. So anyway, we'll talk more Falcons Jets in the deep dive. But first, let's talk a little BetterHelp. So now when you think about where we are in life, sometimes life can be super duper stressful, especially during the holidays for different reasons. Sometimes it's the not so good stress if you maybe have had a loss during the holiday season, or maybe some of the manufactured stress, I'll call it, which is shopping and all that stuff. But you can get some help for that, and you can get it from BetterHelp. BetterHelp. So BetterHelp is one of those where it can be a bright spot of therapy to help you through all of the stress and all of the change that might be coming your way, even anxiety about going into a new year. It's something to look forward to make you feel grounded and to give you the tools to manage everything that's going on. So if you've benefited from therapy or coaching, maybe like I have, I'm an advocate of it, to have somebody help you to learn how to more effectively manage through life, it's a good look for you, and BetterHelp can help you to get there. So you can find a bright spot this season by going to betterhelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. It's that simple. It's entirely online, so it's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. It's as quick as completing a questionnaire to get matched up with the right licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. So again, go to BetterHelp, that's HELP.com/lockedon for better health with BetterHelp. All right, guys. So earlier in the week, we were on the Atlanta football party, and I don't know about you guys, but there was a little bit of like, I want to say salivating at going after this Jets defense, right? Because you're thinking, ooh, 31st defense in the NFL against the rush. And you're talking about a Falcons team that just went off last week and was looking like it was back to form, especially with the three-headed monster of Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, and Cordero Patterson all having really good games, coupled with about 30 yards from Desmond Ridder. I think got him to like 248 yards total on the ground. A flip this week, right? So we're talking about just 90 yards on 34 carries. I don't know about you guys, but I didn't expect that. So Free, I got to ask you, how does the 31st rush defense in the league hold the Falcons to just 90 yards on the ground?
I think a lot of it was how predictable the Falcons were being. It was a lot of early runs, and if you know it's going to be first and second down runs, you can kind of just stack the box. And because I don't think your offensive line came to play against a, granted, much better Jets D line than they probably get a lot of credit, for with Quinnen Williams and all those guys up front, all those, a pretty deep rotation, and you weren't getting the type of push that you were getting a week ago against the Saints up front. I think that's sort of so it was like basically the Falcons are getting 2-3 yards as opposed to last week when those 2 or 3 yards were 5 or 6 yards. And then the 5 and 6 yard runs this week were going for 10 and 12 yards last week. So like you were just consistently able to chip away. And this week you just couldn't really find that type of groove running the football. So I think, a lot of it was just to the conservative game plan that the Falcons had, given the weather conditions, given that I don't think they really trusted their offensive line to hold up in pass protection if the Jets could pin their ears back. So I think all of that sort of led to the Falcons not being able to dominate the run as well as they did, simply because like the Jets, were basically like, we're going to key on stopping this. We know Sauce Gardner can lock down whoever your outside wide receiver is. And, if we can take Bijan out of the game, we can take Drake London out of the game. That's our formula for success. It mostly worked, but fortunately for the Falcons, Kyle Pitts stepped up and made a couple of crucial catches to get that passing game going, even if the running game couldn't get going.
Right. And I think too, Jarvis, that there were some moments, especially in the second half, because to Free's point, in that first half, you had Bijan averaging around 2.6 yards per carry. And then in that second half, you had him averaging more like he did last week, which was more around like the 5 yards per carry, although he's still, just netted 53 yards total on the ground, but still it was the number of yards that he was getting per carry that improved. And it really just got me to thinking, like, it seemed like the Falcons were going more to the right side initially, and then maybe just tried a little bit to switch it up to the left side. But I also thought about this. This is maybe the first time, and you correct me if I'm wrong, where we saw maybe Caleb McGarry, getting a little hurt, a little banged up. And, so I was wondering if there was any possibility, because that is actually where he excels, if, that had anything to maybe do with what we saw, in addition to, because I do wholeheartedly agree with Aaron Freeman. With Aaron, I think that ultimately the Falcons also called a vanilla game that the Jets were prepared for.
Yeah, I think that, part of it is what you said, like with Caleb McGarry being out, Storm Norton coming in as the backup offensive lineman. I'm still waiting for Jonathan Vilma to kind of update me on that. I don't think they ever mentioned it.
Right.
So, that's a whole broadcaster.
You said that because I thought I missed it. Yeah, no, thank you for that. I thought it was me.
But I think overall, of Quentin Williams had something to do with it too. You know,
Fair enough.
Where's 95 lined up at? Oh, okay. Yeah, we might need to switch some things up because in the beginning, like Aaron said, those guys were loading up against the run, man. Like you can't be. It kind of reminds me of the Georgia game yesterday. Like, all right, Mike Bobo, I need you to switch it up a little bit on first and second down, sir, because these guys are coming. Like this is what you showed on film. Like sometimes you gotta switch it up a little bit. You can still run the football, but switch it up when you run the football. So just to kind of throw a couple of different curveballs at the team. So I think that's what we saw today too. So yeah, I think overall Storm Norton did a solid job. I wasn't like, oh man, golly, was there one time against Jermaine Johnson, but Jermaine Johnson was whooping everybody, whoever he was lined up over. So.
Jarvis, he's so petty about that.
He is petty. Yeah. That's what that tweet. We saw that petty tweet. That didn't get by us.
So petty.
I'm just saying, like, it's the truth though, right? Like, come on. The man is a football player. But I don't want to get into old stuff. I don't want to talk about old stuff. I'm just saying, just point out a few things that, I know Michael Parsons had somebody, trying to box him out to get to the quarterback. Storm Norton was trying to box out Jermaine Johnson, to get Desmond Ridder. It's just how it is when you have guys who can play the edge position really well. But I'm just saying, so but I think overall though, all jokes aside, Storm Norton did a pretty solid job, and I just got an update from our own Tori McElhaney that Arthur Smith said that they still waiting on they're gonna have to wait on MRI to kind of get a little bit more information on Caleb McGarry. He said he doesn't think it's serious. And also with Nate Landman as well. So those two are going to get some MRIs, and hopefully they get a little bit more information as to how that works out. Hopefully Nate Landman won't be out long term.
No, and it's that was perfect timing because that was going to be my follow-up question to you, Jarvis. We talk about Caleb McGarry and the impact that it had on him, the impact to the game on him going down, but even someone like Nate Landman, who's done such a solid job coming in this season and has been a welcome surprise. He gets 5, tackles, 2 solo tackles, and a pass defense before he does go down. So hopefully, like you said, he'll be able to bounce back quickly because, he's definitely been a welcome guy in relief for this defense in not having Troy Anderson out there.
Yeah, this is like there are certain areas where the Falcons can't afford to have injuries, and the linebacker core is definitely one of them. Like when you use a guy like Troy Anderson, second round pick, a guy who was similarly starting to get his footing a little bit, at the start of the season. So, and you have to bring in an undrafted free agent, and thankfully that guy has been playing pretty doggone solid. Well, you even think about it, but if you're out, he's out for a little bit of time. You saw what 59, I think it was Andre Davis, I believe his name is. That's not a good thing. He was starting to get picked on a little bit, by Trevor Siemian. So, that's you can have so much depth. I'm gonna put it that way. So, hopefully he can be on the mend. And that was less a little nick. They were just holding him out, for precautionary purposes. Yeah,
you definitely hope so because it's like you said, that's one of the areas where they're a little thin, and you don't want to start having that leaky coverage because. Well, we kind of know that linebacker core has not exactly been a strength for this Falcons defense this particular season. But speaking of an area where we continue to see a strength that we thought was a strength at the beginning of the season, then we kind of had some question marks and kind of some head scratchers. And now I think we're going back to feeling like it's a strength is that secondary. So when you see, for example, AJ Terrell go down, but you see a game that D. Alford is having, or you see what Clark Phillips is able to do. I mean, I think that was one of those areas where maybe, there was some encouragement because, and of course, we certainly, again, hope for the best. No one wants any more major injuries coming out of the secondary. But ultimately speaking, I thought that, and not just this week, but even going back to last week, we were even talking about DeMarco Hellams and how he was showing up when he was put on the field. So again, just going back to Clark Phillips III, not one that we've talked about a lot this season, but certainly someone that maybe showed a little bit of flash, showed a little bit of edge, showed a little bit of something that we kind of like what we saw today.
Yeah.
How about you? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. I think, AJ Terrell was going to be your best option to cover Garrett Wilson that he was their go-to guy. And we saw last week where basically the Saints did not throw to AJ Terrell's side, but I think once the entire game. And that, that's a testament to AJ Terrell's ability. And so when you lose him, you're like, okay, Okuda's played well this year, but there's always a couple of iffy plays that Okuda seems to give up every single week. And you're just like, all right, Jeff, like what's going on? And we saw a couple of those plays this week. And then with Clark Phillips, you were like, okay, well, Clark Phillips is, a smaller guy, like 5'9", how is he going to handle, with how the Falcons want to play defense on the outside, because they like to play a lot of press coverage. And he did a solid job. D. Alford did a solid job. So, even though you had a couple of those, what's going on, Jeff? What are we doing here? Those cover 2 hole shots just seem to be such a problem whenever they run that to Okuda's side. But other than that, like, I think the Falcons did a pretty good job keeping Garrett Wilson contained. And fortunately, the Jets didn't really have any other options that could really damage them in a major way. So I think kudos to that secondary stepping up. I know Jarvis was, he doesn't wish injuries on anybody, but I know when he saw Mike Hughes inactive on this morning, he was like, okay, I think it's going to be a good day for me personally.
Well, Aaron, I appreciate that, man. Like, see, I'm not the only petty one on this show. Like, Aaron Freeman is Mr. Petty. Like, I had removed my time. Come on, Aaron.
Petty me? No, I'm so humble, Jarvis. Like, I'm not petty at all.
No. That's your line that you start your show on Locked On Falcons podcast. Make sure y'all guys check that out. It's an excellent podcast, if I say so myself. But yeah, you're petty. You're petty.
Okay.
Own it.
But yeah, Mike Hughes. It says a lot that Falcons draft picks are making veterans go to the inactive roster. Like, that lets me know that, hey, Terry Fontenot is starting to do a nice job of drafting guys, and that you understand why, like Clark Phillips, anytime, here's why I feel like Clark Phillips is, I kind of knew this from the beginning. Like, anytime you have a guy who's 5'9", and that's being very generous, Aaron, I appreciate. Clark probably.
Yeah, I was going to say 5'8", and then I was like, let's round up.
Anytime he's in a quote unquote battle with a 6'4", 6'5" wide receiver, meaning his teammate Drake London in college, how those guys used to go at it. That lets you know about how that guy likes to compete, and he's the type of guy that likes to be sticky in coverage. He makes up for that not having that much height in the competitiveness and being able to attack the football and being around the wide receiver when the ball is in the air. That's all you ask for when you're talking about a guy that's good in coverage. So yeah, it was cool to kind of see him get that opportunity to go in, and the quarterback still was trying to figure out how they can take advantage of Jeff Okuda. So yeah, that's good. That means a lot. That means a lot.
Yeah, because the most part, that secondary overall, other than maybe that one explosive play in the first half, the secondary really did a solid job. Falcons secondary, that is, of not letting too many explosive plays, or I don't even want to say let the Jets quarterback get out of hand, because that just sounds weird coming out of my mouth. But at least we're just going to go with minimizing.
Jonathan Vilma agrees that Tim Boyle was playing really well.
Yeah. Okay, so on that note of pettiness, we're going to move right on, because I'm just not even going to touch that. I would much rather prefer to give you guys details on Game Time. So guys, it's about that time where, hey, you, me, and everybody else kind of would love to have some extra money during this holiday season. And it could be to buy tickets for some really cool concerts here in the A. And you shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. Should be fast, should be easy, and you should get killer last minute deals, all in prices and views from your seat. And you can do it all with Game Time, because they take the guesswork out of buying tickets. So if you want flash deals, zone deals, if you want the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, all of that comes with Game Time. It has deals on tickets right up to the very start of an event. Even if an event has an hour after it starts, you can actually still get that ticket. So how do you do this? You download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDON NFL. That is Locked On NFL for $20 off. can download Gametime today, of course, right after you finish watching our Locked On Falcons podcast. Gametime gives you last-minute tickets with the lowest price that is guaranteed. All right, guys. So one of the things that I actually did like about this game that had actually nothing to do with football is hearing all of the references for my beloved New Jersey, because that is really where the Jets play, and the Giants for that matter. So I was asking you guys offline, just out of curiosity, if you guys had ever been up top to the tri-state to New Jersey, or I'll give New York and Philly and Connecticut, a little love there too. But if you guys had ever been up there, and if you had a favorite experience or a fun experience up there. So Jarvis was like, yeah, whatever. Because he was tapping out on me anytime I talk about Jersey, because I never ever tell all the secrets. But what about you, Aaron? One day, not today. What about you, Aaron? Been up there, good experience? What?
My biggest Jersey experience was being on the turnpike trying to get to New York. It was just kind of passing through. So I don't really have any takes on New Jersey. It's like another state to me, but apparently it's like the most polarizing state in the world for some reason. And it's perfectly normal state to me that has a turnpike and is just like getting through to get to New York.
Yeah, and it's the funniest thing, because for whatever reason, people have this like disdain for New Jersey, right? Like I've heard it called the armpit of the country, but it's such a beautiful state. It's really like more like the Garden State. And the whole little area around, now granted, the little area around where the Jets play, it's kind of swampy. So maybe that just reminds me of home in Louisiana. But the stadium itself, MetLife, is actually pretty cool. And then the area, believe it or not, I used to live like 10 minutes from MetLife. And that whole like area is pretty cool, because you can take the turnpike, like you mentioned, or you can take the Garden State Parkway, and you can head right on into New York and have a good time. So I don't know. We should ask Tori tomorrow if she had any opportunity to enjoy the tri-state area when she joins us for Atlanta Football Party, where we, of course, are going to download a little bit more on the Falcons. But speaking of that next stop, the Falcons do have a stop in back home, right? And they will be taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So this will be one of those opportunities for the Falcons to potentially, just continue to put kind of space between them and the rest of the league. Now, of course, the Bucs have the good fortune of taking on the Panthers this week, so there's that.
Somebody got to win.
Right. And somebody's got to win a game, but at least we know going into the wrap up of this postcast that the Lions have indeed beaten the Saints 33-28. So that's a good look. But that said, Jarvis, what are some of maybe the keys to the games for the Falcons to get this win against the Buccaneers?
Get a home performance by Desmond Ridder. Don't turn the football over. Figure out how to get back on track with running the football. And you should be able to do that against this Tampa team. Like they said, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 4-7 right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that continue to step on bad teams next. I know the Falcons, people can look at the Falcons and say, oh, well, they're average. Yeah, they're average. They're an average team. 6-6. You are what you say your record is. But those bad teams, those under 500 teams, those teams that look like they are going the wrong way, take advantage of them. So, yeah, I think they're able to do that. I think Ryan Nielsen, get this defense right, continue to cook on D, and they'll figure it out on offense, I guess.
We guess, right. And when you think about it, Aaron, this is one of those wins where, they got that win against Tampa in Tampa right before they kind of went on the slide and then went into the bye. So I figure like it's one of those really good opportunities as well for them to now go on a 3-game winning streak that we haven't seen this entire season.
Yeah, absolutely. Basically the Falcons are better at home, and you expect if they were able to beat the Bucs on the road in a very sloppy win,
yes,
they should be able to play a cleaner football game and hopefully get a more impressive win than we saw this past Sunday against the Jets. And that's going to give you even more confidence. Okay, like this team seems to be turning a corner, has built some momentum with a 3-game winning streak if they can get that win next week. So we'll see what's what.
Okay, and Gog Grog says Jets are a great D. Take the win up north in the rain and move on. That's a good point. Like you were saying earlier as well, Free, and thank you so much for that comment. outside of the leaky run defense, the Jets defense overall is still a solid defense. And like Jarvis said, when you got Quinnen Williams, you at least have a chance to shut down anything you want to shut down. And also, maybe you don't get to execute the game plan that you had, or maybe you had to go a little bit more vanilla, especially in the beginning, than you wanted to, because at the end of the day, maybe the weather, the inclement weather kind of dictated the direction that you had to go for your game plan.
Yeah, I think that's something that, yeah, you can get away with that. I feel at the podium, because those are some of the things that, like, when you think about the conditions and everything, like, then what the first snap of the game told you that, like, okay, like, I know Ritter can be a little loose with the football, but it's cold. They said the weather wasn't that bad up there, but like when you think about temperature dropping, moisture, footballs, yeah, that can get a little shaky. So I think that being able to stick it with the run game and taking advantage of some opportunities in the past from time to time, I think the game plan kind of worked out. But I'm sure Arthur Smith would want to have scored a little bit more than 13 points. But like you said, a dub is a dub is a dub.
Yeah, it is. And I think to that point, I was maybe expecting, because you've got the inclement weather, but I was expecting just a little bit more in terms of the output. But we'll see. Next week, they come back home. Next week, they're in a controlled environment as far as weather conditions are concerned. And to your point, Free, maybe this will be an opportunity for them to continue, kind of get back to where they were last week. So I would probably call last week more of who I think the Falcons are, getting back to their identity versus maybe the anomaly that we saw this week. So thank you guys so much for stopping by. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We appreciate you stopping by, because we bring you all the best Falcons talk each and every week after the game. So don't forget, of course, as well, to check out this crew tomorrow, along with our girl Tori McElhaney, for the Atlanta football party. Again, Falcons victorious, and we love to see it. 13-8, the final up in Jersey. See you tomorrow.